consciousness.
Peace, love, and coconut oil family. Remember this movie entitled Armageddon family? It was a 1998 film starring Bruce Willis where it's a sort of apocalyptic scene where the world is about to end.
What kind of damage are we?
Damage? Total, sir. It's what we call a global killer. The end of mankind. Doesn't matter where it hits. Nothing would survive, not even bacteria.
Being an apocalyptic film, it sort of gives a end of world scenario thing taking place, right? As in the last battle, right, for the savior of humanity, of mankind. But the movie actually got that name and that term from somewhere else. And obviously, many of us, because we were raised within the Christian narrative, right, and we grew up on the Bible, we actually know that that term comes from the Bible. To be exact, in the very last book of the Bible, which is the book of Revelation, which is why many Christians, and even those who have taken on the Judeo-Christian concept and sort of altered it to suit their paradigm, have even come to the conclusion that it's a sort of prophecy which has to be fulfilled within this end of time. So we find it in Revelation chapter 16, where the God of the Bible says that he shall gather them, okay, all of them, onto a place called Armageddon. Now Armageddon, as I said, you have this notion of this end of world because in reality, well, not reality, but according to the book, the narrative of the book, in their reality, okay, it's like it's the last battle between God and his angels and Satan and his minions before the day of judgment. Now the day of judgment, we already touched upon this in a previous video entitled, I believe it was, what happens after death, or what happens when you die, something along those lines. So when we hear the term Armageddon within all Judeo-Christian religions, okay, and I don't want you to think for once that Islam is spared, because we do get it in Islam as well, specifically in the Hadith. It's referred to as Al-Malhama Al-Kubra, okay? That is basically the same term in Arabic, which gives the same sort of scenario for this Armageddon, for this great and final battle. Now, a lot of the family who are just transitioning from being within the religious mindset, in a cage mindset, in a box, and sort of elevated themselves and coming into the consciousness and the awakening, they still probably have, you know, some little doubts. So obviously at Millennium Empire, you already know how we do. We come to decipher and break down these sort of instruments, we can call them, that was even used by religion and by the Christian church predominantly to have us in that fear. And fear, as we all should know, is an emotion which inhibits you from becoming the best version of yourself. Okay? So let's break it down, family. So what is Armageddon? Let us not forget that the Bible, obviously the people within the Bible, those chosen people are referred to as the Hebrews or the Hebrew Israelites. So at a point in time, the Bible was actually written in Hebrew. Now the word Armageddon comes from a Hebrew word called Har-Megiddo. According to Strong's Concordance, Har, H-A-R, means hill or mountain, and Megiddo or Megiddon means a place of crowds. So automatically, the word Armageddon meaning Har-Megiddo, we should know that it is a mountain which is crowded or will have people on top of it. Within the Bible, the place called Armageddon or Har-Megiddo is a place in present-day Israel, family. Right? That's number one. Now the thing is, that place called Har-Megiddo in Israel is not even a mountain. It's not a hill. It's like what they refer to as a tell. Let's say there is a specific location, let's just say probably like 2 acres of land, and we have certain individuals, just a group of people, coming to build on that particular spot. And they will build like forts. Okay, we'll get into why it was forts later on. So they build forts, and then when they obviously passed away or dispersed and time passed, We get ruins, and then another set of people come and build on top of it. So they just keep on building on top, building on top. So you get sort of what they refer to as a mound. So it's not even the Har Megiddo, it's like the mound of Megiddo, okay? And a place of crowds, obviously, because it was sort of like a small settlement, mainly forts, but the people actually used to reside there. The thing is, that place called Har Megiddo was overseen or right next to a trade route known as Avimaris. That trade route provided a link between Egypt and the northern empires. Northern empires like Anatolia, Mesopotamia, and Syria, okay? The reason that this particular place is in the Hebrew text, we're going to break it down, family, and it actually has to deal with a historical event. Now, the people within the scriptures, family, who refer to themselves as the Hebrews or the Israelites were traced back historically to a set of nomadic people, a nomadic tribe, which entered Kemet or ancient Egypt through the Mesopotamian strip, through the Levant, and came into Lower Egypt, right? Because when you cross the Mesopotamian strip and we go straight across Saudi Arabia, you will actually get Lower Egypt. And when you move down inside of Africa, we get Upper Egypt. We're going to explain that in another video. So when they came in, family, they came in very few. Those Hyksos people, they were only being identified as the term Hyksos, which means foreign rulers. The family should know this. I mean, most of my family work out there, so they should know this. The foreign rulers. So they came into Kemet, into ancient Egypt, around 1675 BC. They came very few, family. They came, and as the elder Baba Hiru always says, we clothed y'all, we fed, we have fed y'all, right? And they grew in number till a time came where they managed to create a city. Okay, we gave them permission to actually have a little settlement to create a city called Avaris, and eventually they actually challenged us for the throne and took over the throne of Lower Egypt, and also took the city of Memphis as well. And they were basically ruling in Egypt for quite a few years, family. I believe it was probably about, if not a century or more, right? So yes, historically, there were a set of people called the Hebrews who did enter Egypt, but where it goes off is that they were not slaves and they didn't build the pyramids. You see what I'm saying? So this is why we say that the Bible will have a little snippet of truth and just exaggerate and, the whole story. You see, so the Bible cannot be trusted as a history book, but we will get different little snippets here and there to, to identify, so we could go back into the historical records and have a look and match it up and see what's actually transpiring and taking place. So this set of people, when they entered, obviously I just said after a while they took over and they conquered, and they were actually the king, the Nesubiti of Lower Egypt. Specifically, the king name was Apopi, or Apopai, right? Popeye the sailor, Popeye. Anyway, so they were ruling for quite a few years, family, and they even made alliances with Nubians, okay, which has gone past Upper Egypt, or within that same region, we can say, right, which is in the Sudan area, southern Sudan. Now the Kemetic people in Upper Egypt, which is Tarseti in Sudan, felt betrayed, because first we have invaders, right, coming and take over the next part of our domain, Lower Egypt, and then they making alliances with our brothers and sisters behind our back. So they felt cornered, and they felt, Now most individuals, when they give you a breakdown of what transpired and the king who actually got rid of the Hyksos, they will refer to King Amos, right? King Amos the first. But the thing is, before Amos, it was Kamos, his brother, who actually began the revolt, family, right? But he died in battle, and it was his brother Amos, right, who actually succeeded. It was documented even by another Amos, because King Amos also had one of his troops who was a scribe who was documenting the whole event, what transpired. So in actuality, there were two Amoses, okay? But we must never forget it was King Kamos who really got fed up and said, you know what, let me try and get up and do something, right? So when Amos rose up and defeated Apopai in Lower Egypt, he actually extended his power and even the revolt all the way up to the Mesopotamian strip, because there was another king in that location feeding Apopai, his artillery and his arms to even rise up against us here in, well, not here, but rise up against us and our ancestors in Upper Egypt. So he went and he defeated that king up there as well. You check what I said? And as a result, Kemet, its borders extended all the way to Palestine, family. Okay? Now, don't forget, we said it was Apopai, and he actually made alliances with our brothers and sisters, some Nubians, some, not all Nubians, some Nubians in the south. So Amos was like, you know what? I go in and take care of Daman in Palestine there, in Mesopotamia, in Syria, and after I will turn my energy back on the Nubians and make an example of my brothers and sisters to show them you can't be helping the enemy. You check what I'm saying? But after him, I guess, when he actually extended the borders, he just kind of settled. The successor after King Amos was Amenhotep I. Now, Amenhotep I turned his energies from the north to the south, to the Nubians, because it's like just a family line going on, just a bloodline going on, and it's like we can't forget what had happened. So don't feel we forget you all had turned on us and side with the enemy. We still have to come and let you know what time it is for it not to happen again, because if we forget, it might happen again, because no example was set of you. Which is why even certain depictions, of the battle, where we can see of King Amos and even Thutmose III, sometimes you will even see Nubians under his carriage. Because when I saw that, I was like, yo, what black man doing under that one carriage there? I says like that one trampling black man under Hyksos as well. You should why say that that's something a lot of people don't really touch upon. But if we check history and what actually transpired, it was those Nubians who turned against even us and made alliances with the Hyksos family. Sometimes it's not their fault, sometimes the Hyksos rise up against them, but as though, I don't know, they have something with Ethiopia though, is the motherland and goes way back, as though you have a little sellout into it, not my fault, because let us not forget the Ethiopia which is here today in the Horn of Africa is not the ancient Ethiopia, Nubia, Kush family, even that the Bible is even referring to. And even historically, it has just extended to that point, and eventually they cut off that top point where it was really supposed to be, which is where you will get the Zagwe dynasty, the Aksum dynasty, Aksum, which is the city, the capital, and Meroe. Okay, so all that was in Sudan. Now, after Amenhotep the first, it was Thutmose the first. Okay, and Thutmose the first now directed his energies back up to the north and tried to even further extend our borders, family, right? And he extended it a bit more. Then his successor was Thutmose II, and he came and he didn't really do nothing like that, but he just settled in what we had already established, and being that the territory has been extended. Okay, and then let's not forget, family, I'm giving you the story of Armageddon. I'm telling you how that battle went on and why it is actually in the Hebrew scriptures. Let's not forget, we just building here. Let's just build with me. So after Thutmose II family, it was Thutmose III, okay, his grandson, that actually rose up to power, and he was like, he's finally going to overthrow that wretched enemy and extend the borders of Egypt, right? And so said, so done, family. What actually transpired at about 1482 BC, because remember, all of this began with the Hyksos coming in 1675. So we have gone down the line. So we're now at 1482 or 1479, depending according to which scholar you're reading. The dates, they just have just a few years off. And we can deal with that, really. So it wasn't up until 1482 that, even while Thutmose III was attempting to extend ancient Egypt's borders, that the surrounding people, because, I forgot to mention, while the energies of Amenhotep I was directed towards the south, towards the Nubians, the northern empires were actually battling to extend their borders as well. So we had a tribe of people called the Mitanni people, and they were obviously clashing with people like the Hittites and the Canaanites and these people. So when we came to the time period of Thutmose III, the borders had already been extended a bit. Now Thutmose III, saying he want to get rid of that wretched enemy once and for all, he actually decided to assemble his army and to march forth to get rid of all these European, Caucasian people there. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like, you'll try one thing on one family member, it's just pressure. You see? So while Thutmose III was on this expedition, family, those same tribes that I mentioned to you, being the Mitanni people and even the Hittites and some Canaanites. Now the Canaanites, okay, and the Hyksos, we can consider are the very same people, or they intermingle, because the Hebrew culture we can see has Canaanite traditions within it. Remember in Genesis when it said that God said, behold, man has become one of us. In the Hebrew tongue, God there is referred to as Elohim. Now, Elohim is a plural for the term, for the title called El. And El is a Canaanite deity. You see what I'm saying, family? So they are related to the Canaanite culture. So it was the Canaanites, the Hittites, and even the Mitanni people, the Mitannians, okay, who gathered themselves together to even rise up against the ancient Kemetic people who were trying to extend the borders to that region, family. The place the battle had to happen, or the place the battle happened, was Armageddon, is Armageddon. And the Bible is now saying that God is saying he will gather them all into that place. A little snippet of history that we can actually get recorded in the Bible. Now, the thing is, those Mitannis and those Hittites and Canaanites, they were already at Armageddon, okay? And so I'm going on here expecting the family to know who Tutmosis III is. Let us just show his statue right here. Okay, I'm sure you've seen that statue. That is the statue of Tutmosis III. Now, Tutmosis III and his army had to march to get to Armageddon, Now, there are three routes to Armageddon. There are two easy routes, and there is one route which is very dangerous, family. It's along a mountain, and you kind of have to travel in single file. The thing is, if someone decided to pass that route, and obviously the enemy saw them, it would be easy to ambush them and get rid of even the whole army, family. Okay, so Tutmosis III War Council actually advised him to pass one of the two easier routes, and the Bedouin was like, you know, Gaza, Amun-Ra favors me. And if you're all thinking like that, my enemy must be thinking like that too. So he will take the risk and even tread through that narrow and hard path. You see what I'm saying? The enemy, obviously, was thinking like his war council. They actually split up into two groups and guarded the two easy entrances, family. Okay? And Amun-Ra did favor Tutmosis III, and Amun-Ra obviously will favor us because we're his children, family. Okay? So when he passed through the route, it was like he arrived at Armageddon, he arrived at the city and nobody there. He had time to actually set up his formation, okay? His battle formation with his army. And then by the time the word had already got back to those two set of groups who were actually guarding the two other posts, Tutmosis IV and them had done set up themselves already. So when they came, it's just annihilation. It's just, cut them off one by one. You see what I'm saying? Now it is recorded, you will see on a lot of the walls, well, not a lot of the walls, but there is this particular wall, I forgot in which temple, family. You will see the battle of Tutmosis III. That's why you will see him want to, hit his enemy's head with a mace. You shall get, I think it's the mace, or cut his enemy head off. This is why in a particular temple, forgot the name of the temple, you will actually see a depiction and a hieroglyph of Tutmosis III slewing his enemy. Okay? So that particular battle, which has transpired, is recorded sort of a kind of way, in another way, in the reverse, in the Bible, family. So that is why that text is in there. That is why Armageddon, that particular location, is in the Hebrew text. Because first off, we clash with them, okay? Amos clashed with them, right? Read them out, and then some of them still later on even want to come back and try and, prevent man from extending the borders. It's like, you do what you do, you have to pay the price, straight up. You see what I'm saying? So give thanks to the ancestor, Tutmosis III, who was actually very victorious in that battle. And in a nutshell, this is why we're trying to say this is what Armageddon is. It's not some event for us to be expecting to feel like it's some kind of prophecy. You see what I'm saying, family? So we have to break away from that curse. You see? And even if we have to analyze, okay, let's just say we're not looking at it as a literal thing to happen. Let's just say you're looking at it like a metaphor, a figurative sense. Like, many people can be gathered against me, and from the time I do what's right and take the right route, I will be victorious. You can look at it in that mindset, in that mind frame. Okay? You can even look at it, well, even not just yourself, but obviously, as within, so without, as above, so below. Not only your battle, but even the battle of the righteous of the world, obviously, at a point in time. But do not put it like something like this great battle of God and his angels and taking and getting rid of Satan and his demons, and the sky have to break and the Son of Man have to come through the sky with tens and thousands. Come on, man. We walk around here. You see what I'm saying? So that Armageddon is a historical event, okay, that has taken place where even our ancestors were triumphant family, right? And hopefully in another video we're actually going to bring the sources and match up and see what it says within that chapter and historically. Okay, so get rid of that fear, continue on your ascension despite all the distractions, the greatest distractions I can see nowadays, considering that virus, elections, and whatever else is in the air. Stay focused, family. Peace, love. Don't forget that coconut water.